Hey, I'm here. I got Coach Jay Evans on the line here, just audio only. How you doing today, Jay?
Doing well, Alec. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. Same as the rest of us during these strange times. I know I got you in the car today, so we're just on audio, but figure we get a quick video in and maybe find some interesting informations from you, Coach.
Sounds like a plan.
So I guess go ahead and introduce yourself and just kind of let people know your background tennis-wise and kind of how you came into the position that you were in.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jay Evans. I'm a native of Tampa, Florida originally. I played tennis at Piedmont College, a Division III school in Georgia. Coached high school tennis for a couple of years after that. And then in August of 2017, I took over as head men's women's tennis coach at Davis Nelson College, small Division II school in West Virginia. And then unfortunately last week I was let go from my position. So currently a free agent, looking, to figure out what that next move is going to be. But I've definitely had a great experience at D&E, and just looking forward to whatever that next step for me is.
So, Coach, one interesting thing you kind of pointed out is you started out as a high school coach. Can you kind of talk to us a little bit about the transition, making the jump from a high school in Florida to a small Division II college in West Virginia?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I kind of took the harder road for a college coaching background. I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to coach a high school team fresh out of college, which, for a high school that is a very big athletics high school, Lakewood High School in St. Petersburg, Florida, um, for them to take a chance on a 22-year-old fresh out of college to take over their tennis program, was nothing short of an honor. I did that for a year. We had a really successful season. My boys' team actually went from worst to first in our district and won our district championship. And then on the women's side, we had the runner-up at number one singles and number one doubles. So it was an amazing experience, and kind of told me that there was definitely something to this coaching thing for me. I left coaching for about a year to pursue my career with Publix further. I worked at Publix grocery store down south all the way through high school and college. Was given a promotion up to Atlanta to work in a store in wine and event planning. Did that for a little over a year, kind of got sick of that grind, and I felt that my calling was to give coaching another chance, and was lucky enough to take over Lakewood's program again in 2017. I literally drove from Atlanta to Tampa that Saturday and started practice on Monday. So it was a crazy experience there. But kind of the same thing when I left, the program kind of went downhill again. And I brought it back to a winning team on both sides. And actually, we won 12 matches on the men's side, which is the most they'd ever won in school history. From there, I just started looking at college jobs and kind of zoned in on making that transition. And was, fortunate enough to get an opportunity at D&E, kind of out of luck a little bit. It was late July. Kids were getting ready to come back from summer, and they still hadn't hired a coach. And got an opportunity there, and just kind of mulled it over and felt like it was a chance that I couldn't really pass up. So packed the stuff up and left my home and career in Florida to take the job in Elkins, West Virginia. A place I'd never been to, a state I was pretty unfamiliar with, and just kind of took over a program that had a lot of success historically, but was transitioning to a much tougher conference with really no men's team when I took it over. So job one was going to be to rebuild the men's program and try to keep the women's program at least somewhat successful. And we had a good couple of years. We definitely faced some challenges, but it definitely was a unique experience. And you learn a lot about yourself when you kind of get thrown into something. And high school coaching is one thing, but there's so much more that goes into college coaching. That's why high school coaches, they really do what they do from January to May, whereas college coaching is a year-round thing. And just getting used to that and the inner workings of it, the budgeting, the recruiting, the scheduling, all of that. So there's just so much more that went into it. But that's definitely the biggest challenge, was just learning all that and the ins and outs. Each school you're at is going to be different, and just kind of learning operate on the fly was one thing I definitely had to challenge myself with.
And Jay, you kind of brought up to the point. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is you took over a program at Davis and Elkins. Like you said, they had some successful years prior. Obviously, I'm really good friends with their former coach, Otis Cutshaw. I was recruited there as a high schooler. But, you took over a program that I think, how many men's returners did you have? Maybe one or two? Just a few,
Yeah,
right?
I walked into one returning starter, two returning reserves, and then a couple of freshmen.
Yeah,
That
so, I mean, it was a
two of them were
rebuild.
walk-ons to the program, and one was recruited. And just we wouldn't have had a full lineup without immediately stepping into recruiting.
Right, and just judging from that point, I guess whenever you stepped into the role versus obviously in the past couple weeks now that you're out of the role, can you speak to the growth that you felt the team made in your 3 seasons as the head coach?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I made it a point to do, and again, I consider my strongest suit as a coach on the college level to be the recruiting aspect. I feel good about my ability to sell somebody on a program, on an opportunity, and on my vision. I think the biggest thing I did was to grow the kind of the face of the program. Everybody knew in the area and in West Virginia that D&E had a solid program and always been pretty solid. But to kind of get that name out there and get that college's name out there even further, I spent a lot of time on the road recruiting. A lot of time in Florida, went to Texas a lot, just kind of trying to get the name out there of the school. And that was, I think, the biggest thing I was able to do is to bring in kids domestically that were higher level players, and players that could immediately step in. When in the past, nothing against the way Otis recruited, but he recruited heavily international and kind of looked at in-state kids to kind of fill those gaps. Whereas, my big focus was bringing kids from all over the U.S. and, just presenting that opportunity to them.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, as coaches have different recruiting strategy. As for you personally, I think it's definitely, I would consider it a success to be able to get the domestic kids that you've got. You hear a lot of conversation about college tennis at all divisions has trouble recruiting American kids. I mean, the fact of the matter is American kids aren't playing as much college tennis as they are in, a lot of other countries. And, some coaches would have different reasons to argue why that is. But for you, getting kids from different states to come to Elkins, West Virginia to play tennis, it's definitely an accomplishment. And, to get higher level players, especially, it's a big deal. For us personally, at Salem, we've had some difficulties recruiting Americans. Do you want to speak towards that at all? Or maybe, how you find recruiting Americans can be different from recruiting international players?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, with American kids, there's such a limited crop that is the caliber necessary to succeed at the Division II level. And a lot of those kids are much more inclined to choose a Division III school where their academic relation or their academic prestige may be a little bit more. I mean, having played Division III myself, I can certainly speak on that. There are some incredible Division III programs that, if they don't bring in 3- and 4-star kids, they're not going to win. Finding those kids that kind of want that competition first aspect of it, it's certainly a challenge. And I mean, it's just there's that much less of a talent pool. I mean, if let's say there's 500 2-stars in the country, probably half of them have already kind of closed out Division II, and then another 100, 150 are probably on the fence about whether they even want to play college tennis. A lot of those kids, if they don't get the offer they really like, they would just much rather go to a big school or to the academic school they're choosing, and play club tennis or not play tennis at all. That's something I grew up with in Florida. Was we had a lot of really good juniors who they just decided, no, tennis has been great to me, but I'm just going to go to Florida and go to school, maybe play club tennis. But a lot of them kind of leave that time on the table there. So just recruiting those kids, you definitely have to put in even more work than getting an international kid. But to me, I think it's much more rewarding when you get one of those to sign, especially if you're bringing them in from, a California or a Florida, Texas, to come to Elkins, West Virginia, or, Salem, West Virginia, or any of these smaller towns that, they thrive off their programs. They thrive off their schools.
Definitely. There's challenges for many different reasons. Definitely you touched on the fact that, many Americans just they choose not to play at all. And also we can't discount the fact that many of the Power Five schools have club teams that are extremely strong and can compete with many D2 programs, D3 programs, NAIA. So I mean you're getting a lot of the good Americans don't even play. Like you said, a lot discount college tennis entirely. And then also, one thing that's a big factor is many Americans just don't go D2 generally. Like you said, you're from a D3 background. The top Americans usually go D1, and then the rest go D3. So to get some of those kids that are undecided and maybe they find a home in a small school in West Virginia, it's really rewarding and something that we look forward to in Salem. Um, Changing gears just a little bit, Coach. You know, Due to the whole COVID thing, the COVID-19, Corona, um, for you personally, whenever all that was going down, was it something that you kind of foresaw coming in the few days prior? And was it something that your team had already kind of realized was going to end their season before you really had that conversation?
Yeah, I don't. We were in Florida on spring break the week before our season ended up getting canceled, and we kind of made a few remarks about hey, let's just be cautious. They had cases confirmed in Florida, and obviously me being from there, I had some inner contact. People are like, these are where the cases have been, or these are how they got there. So we definitely did our job to try to avoid that sort of thing. We had that next week off from any matches. And I want to say it was our first practice back after a couple days off was when things started to go down. And, that's when the eyebrows started to get raised, when they started talking about, the NCAA tournament potentially being canceled.
Yep.
And once that started happening, I think we all kind of perked our ears up and, became a possibility. And that's when some of the kids started asking, do you think our season's getting canceled? And I said, no, I don't think so. And then we had the first match get canceled, another school canceling their out of conference schedule, and that made it feel a little bit more real. And at that point, that was when it kind of hit me that I had probably coached my last match of the season. And then that next day, we went through as normal. We were having practice, and while we were in practice was when the stoppage came in, and there wasn't really much to say. It was like, guys, we got to stop. Hopefully we'll be able to resume, but this is where we're at right now. And, in the next 24 hours, it all just kind of came to fruition. And, it was just weird, just how quickly it all happened. It was business as usual. And then next thing you know, season's over. It was I don't think it set in for anybody until they had to leave campus about a week later. And it was just weird the way it all kind of transpired.
Yeah, it became real very quickly. I know you guys had your spring break the week before. Many schools were actually on spring break while this was going on. So we were at Hilton Head, and by the last couple of days, the season we saw MEC canceled their season, PSAC canceled their season. So our last match of the last day of our trip, it was kind of just like it was a really weird feeling because both sides knew the season was over and that ultimately this match really wasn't going to count for anything besides moral points. So for us, it was strange too. A lot of thoughts and emotions. When a season ends like that. I think you guys were like 9 games into your season or 9 matches, and we were like 6. So I mean, from that perspective, I know personally, our private conversations, you were really excited to see this season play out on both sides, and obviously for next season, I know you were really excited, and you're going to have a really strong team. So it has to be strange to have coached your final match ever at Davis and Elkins, right?
Yeah, it was really crazy to think about, and actually I was thinking about the other day. Thinking back to my last match at D&E, it was last match of spring break. It was at Hillsborough Community College, which is a place that I played a lot of junior tournaments at. My high school district championships were there. 3 out of my 4 years, I played USTA tournaments there. It was just, it was really cool because we had a little bit of a home field kind of feeling in that match. We were all beat up from a tough week of matches at spring break, but thinking back on it, it's really weird that that's kind of how it ended. And I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and there will be more opportunities, and hopefully better opportunities for me as a coach in the future. Should I continue my coaching career? But it was kind of weird when I thought back on it the other day that's where my career at D&E ended. Was somewhere that had meant a lot to me as a player and as a person growing up. So I mean, it was cool to have that, but at the same time, there was a lot to be excited about with this season and the coming future. And I think with Cam taking over, I think the program's going to be in good hands. I think D&E is going to be a force in the Atlantic region and the Mountain East Conference for the foreseeable future, just with the level of talent they're going to be returning. And I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason, and better things are on the horizon, not just for Davison Elkins as a tennis program, but also for Coach Jay Evans, whatever this road takes me on.
Yeah, and Coach, I know you're going to have a lot of time to reflect on this, as we all are, but you especially currently, you're leaving your options open. But from a neutral perspective, what are some reasons why you would maybe think about jumping back on the horse and getting back into college tennis? I guess the question may be, what are things that you enjoy about it, and reasons why you would maybe want to make that return?
Yeah, for me, one big thing that's going to motivate me should I choose this route is, I'm a firm believer in minor setback for a major comeback. All those little cliches, back and better than ever, all that stuff. Unfinished business is going to be something that's on my mind.
You're welcome.
It's definitely a frame of mind I always try to keep with anything I do. And should I make the return? I'll have learned from a lot of my mistakes that I made at D&E. I know that I have a lot to bring to the table as a coach. Not trying to sound arrogant or anything, but I firmly believe in my abilities as a person more than anything. I think one of my best assets is I have a lot to offer as a mentor and as a leader. And I made some mistakes. I learned from them. I was 25 without any guidance on how to do this college tennis thing. And they don't give you a book when you start a job on how to coach college tennis. It's definitely something that you either know how to do or you learn how to do. And so, should there be another destination for me as a coach, just learning from those mistakes and coming in with a different mindset. Just because, now I've been around the block a couple times, I've made a lot of connections, and, I like to think that I'm a well-respected coach and well-liked coach. I try to do things the right way and just be a good human being.
Well, Coach, definitely, speaking from my own perspective, and I don't want to speak for anyone else, but knowing you personally and knowing your background and knowing how far you took the program that you inherited, personally, I don't think you're going to have any troubles finding a job if you ever choose to want another one in the college tennis industry. And I think there's a lot of other coaches that feel the same way. It looked to me like on Facebook you had an outcry of support in your comments and things like that. So I think you've got a lot of references and a lot of good people still left in the tennis community who believe in your ability to coach. And like I said, I don't think you're going to have a problem getting another job one day if you so choose. Thanks for coming on today, man. Appreciate you. And I definitely appreciate having a different perspective on things. Safe travels on your way back to Florida. And obviously we look forward to maybe getting you on video whenever you're back in Florida sometime.
Sounds like a plan, Alec. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you, Coach. I'll talk to you later, man.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. Thanks again.